Hello and welcome back to another video tutorial on developing games in BrickBreaker. In today's lesson we are going to focus on incorporating variables in our programs. Now variables you would have come across in a wide range of different games, be it FIFA, Call of Duty, Fortnite, a wide variety of games that you would have played. But what are variables? Now variables are essentially anything that can change over the course of your game. Now, to demonstrate this, I have the Super Mario Bros. Screen, which I'm hopefully sure that most of you are familiar with. Now, what variables can we see? What items will change throughout the course of the game? Consider and think for a few moments. So hopefully you were able to identify the three variables that we can see on the screen. The first being lives. Super Mario's lives will start at 3, and each time it loses a life by touching an enemy, it will go down, and we would notice that this 3 would change to a 2. We also have time, which is quite simple. This times how long it takes for you to complete the game. And then the last variable we can see on the screen is, of course, score. Now the score would go up each time Mario was to collect a coin. Now if you look at my game, I have done something very similar. Although I've not incorporated as many variables, we should hopefully notice that in the top left hand side we have a variable that will change. We are also going to, in this video, develop some type of sprite that will act as bricks, and it will hide or make the ball rebound when it is touched. So to demonstrate, now notice that ball, let me turn the volume down, that paddle, sorry, that brick even, it didn't actually change or hide or anything like that. It made the ball rebound. So there are different types of bricks that we can incorporate into our game that will make it a little bit more entertaining, I'd say. So hopefully what you would have noticed is in the left hand side, the variable changed. So let's just demonstrate that one more time very quickly. So it starts at 0. Each time it's touched by the ball, it's changed. So let's make a start. So the first thing we want to do is make sure you've got your game open. And the very last tutorial we looked at incorporating sound into our program. And today we are going to, like I said, start using variables. So the first thing you want to do is think about what bricks you are going to use. For me, and the theme of my game, it's all to do with space, so I decided to use planets. But of course you can choose any type of brick you'd like. So to go over, choose a sprite. I'm just going to use the same one as last time, planet 2. And I'm going to position my object here. Of course, a good programmer would tell the object where to go at the start of the game, but we are not going to worry about that for now. What you also want to do is just make sure you've gone in and changed the size of the object, otherwise it will take up too much of the screen. So I'm going to do that very quickly, just by changing the size. Now one important rule, when you change the size of an object, you need to make sure you center it back here. Okay, so it's got the target for the center of where the sprite should be. So once you've changed the size of it, you just want to center it as much as you can, like so. Okay, so just make sure you've done that, and then you can position your object where you'd like it to go. We've got a sensible name, Planet 2, which is totally fine. You can of course change the aesthetics of your object by changing the color. We are not going to go through that now, but you can of course take as much time as you need. Once you are happy with whatever object you are going to use as your brick, we need to go over to the code section. What will be the first script? Now of course it's always when the green flag is clicked. What else do we want to happen? Now I'm not going to get these in any logical order for you. I'm just going to show you the scripts that we need. You need to try and sequence them in the right order. So we definitely need a forever in there because it's going to keep happening, running on a loop. You could use wait if you wanted to. we would definitely need some type of if statement that would detect if it is touched by the ball. We would need a sensing, and we would need to make sure we use this one, and of course we can change which object we are touching or detecting to see if we've touched. And of course, if you've named your objects appropriately, ball should appear there. What should happen when the ball's touched? Looks, we definitely want the object to hide, and we should get the object to show at the start of the game. Now there's one more element that we need to incorporate, and that is changing a variable. Every time one of these objects is hit by the ball, the score variable should go up. Now to create a variable, we go over to the left hand side and you should see variables here. So you can see that I've got score already, but you will probably need to create your own one. So to do that, you just select make a variable, press ball, type in ball, no not ball, sorry, type in score, and then click OK. I'm going to click cancel because I've already got this variable created. So then, now that we've developed and created our score variable, we can start using it in our game. Now at the start of the game, the score should always reset back to its default value, which is of course 0. It should always default back. Otherwise, if you're testing your game, the score may stay the same as what it was before. Now what should happen every single time the ball hits one of these objects? The score should go up. Now to do that, you just use change score by. Now just to test to see if this works, we can see what value our variables have over the course of the program. Now make sure you change that to score, and I'm going to say set score to 2 just to see if it works. Now if your variable does not appear on the top, you may need to just check this box here, because I've hidden mine because I don't actually want to see the score this way. I want to see it a different way. But we can see here when we press stop, let's say I was to change that to 0, press on the green flag, score changes. Now you can also change the way it looks, so you can right click and go to normal readout, which will tell you the variable name, which does look good, but again we can always create more creative ways of illustrating what the actual score is. You can use a slider, so you can change and drag and change the variable of the score up from 0 to 100. But for now, let's just use the normal readout. So what you are going to do now, if you've not done so already, try and sequence these objects in the correct order so that when the green flag is clicked, score is set to 0. If ever it is touched by the ball, the variable score should go up by 1. The sprite should also hide. I'm going to give you 4 minutes to try that. Please, as you normally would, just pause the video and attempt to challenge yourself. Okay, hopefully you were all able to complete this task. Of course, I will show you how it's done. So what you should have then selected is the forever script. And then we want to forever check if this object is touched by the ball. If it is touched by the ball, we want to hide and change the score variable by 1. So change score by 1 essentially means go up by 1. And of course, at the start of the program, when the green flag is clicked, we want to show. Now we can very quickly just test to see if this works. So the first thing I'm expecting to see is the score to go back to 0. I'm also expecting the score to go up by 1 if the ball touches the planet, and I'm expecting this planet to hide. Fantastic. So now what you can do is start to duplicate this sprite, because we've got the code that works, so we can just duplicate the sprite as many times as we need it. There is no limit to the amount of bricks you should use in your game. It's totally up to you. But to duplicate, all you do, right click, duplicate, and you can do this as many times as you want. I'm only going to add a few for now, but of course your game would have many more. So just to make them show again, we can do this. Okay, and you can position them anywhere you want. It's totally fine. Now what will happen is, because we've got more planets doing the exact same thing, the score will go up by more than just one. It will go up, well, we'll go up by one, but it will go up to higher than one. So the most it would be here is 5, because we have 5 planets that will change the score. Now, there's also an opportunity for you to make special bricks that will make the ball rebound and not necessarily hide. I'm not going to show you that in this video, but if you are keen and you are a fast learner and you want to challenge yourself, please try and do that. Now, as you can see, and I will demonstrate this very quickly, is the score will go up by 1 to a maximum of 5. Now, if you would like to change the way in which your variable is represented, as you can see, just having score there in the default variable icon doesn't really look very appealing. In this game, of course, you would have noticed that I have a variable instead that goes up and changes. A sprite, so I've got a sprite that does this, not necessarily a variable. So what you need to think about is, how could you create a sprite that would change its costume to represent whatever score the score is. So to do that, all I did is I chose a default sprite and I selected 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could also, if I go down to here and go to paint the sprite, you could also just type in level 1 and I'll just recenter that. Yeah, and then you could right click, duplicate, but this time level 2. Okay, so you could do something like this and you would have, not level, so Mr. Skelly is going crazy, it is of course score. Score equals 2. Score equals 1. Oh, and of course score equals 0 as well. So let's make sure we've got all of them. Again, and that would work in the very same way, and it would change every time the score is a certain value. So it starts at 0, then score equals 1, score equals 2. Okay, and you can take your time to change the design, the color of your object. So you either could just use the number or the text option here, where I typed out 0, 1, 2, or 3. But then the coding element is really important, because we need to make the sprite listen essentially for when the score changes. So to do that, I will show you just the first half of the code, and we can see here that we've got a when the green flag is clicked, switch to costume 0 forever. So forever, if score equals 1, switch costume to glow 1. So this glow 1 will of course be number 1 here, and then so on and so forth. So when the score reaches 2, we are going to tell this sprite to change its costume to glow 2. So I'll give you the starting blocks, so I won't give you everything. Let's see if you can use a sprite to change, to represent the variables changing, essentially, rather than having the standard variable that is given to us by Scratch. Okay, once again, if you have any questions, please do get back to me or your teacher, and we'll be happy to help. Try and challenge yourself, try and add these extra features, because it will make your game a little bit more challenging and interesting for the user to play and engage with. And also see if you can get one of your planets to reflect the ball, so that when the ball touches one of the planets, the ball bounces back in the opposite direction. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.